What I understand is that if we understand the nature of temptation, we will so much more be able to resist temptation. Understanding the nature of temptation is so key, I've discovered, to resisting temptation. Every single human being struggles with temptation. It's part of the cross we carry. We will struggle with temptation to different degrees at different times, but throughout our whole life, pretty much to our dying breath. And he says, the temptation, it's there for a reason. We need to be tested for us to see how much do I really love God. It's easy to have an encounter with God and you're filled with joy and with love and you just want to praise Him all the time, and that's not really a measure of how much you love God. The measure of how much you love God comes through trials and temptations. To have a temptation is not a sin. Like if we're subject to temptation, if we're assailed with temptations, he says, that's not a sin. It's only a sin when we assent to it, when we open our hearts to that temptation, that's when it becomes a sin. And so he says that this experience of temptation, for a lot of people, they misunderstand it and they think they've offended God because they're experiencing temptation, and because the nature of temptation is the feelings. You're angry. You're someone frustrates with you, and you're filled with feelings of anger. And then he says, just because you're presented with these temptations and they come with the feelings, it might feel like you've offended God, but you haven't. You haven't offended the Lord until you've assented to them. And so he says that for a person to be assailed with temptation, but to be firm and resisting temptation, to not assent to these temptations, to turn away from them, to choose God. Say you're having a temptation of uncharity, anger towards someone, and you repeatedly say, no, Lord, I do forgive the person, I love the person, bless the person. And throughout the day you're just having to do that. He says that a day like that is way more pleasing to God than a day where you're just filled with, consolation and all that, and you haven't had to battle.